What's up, everybody, and welcome to Inconsequential Souls. So, I've been away from Dark Souls 3 for a while, playing me some Terraria. So I figured I'd get some PvP in, because for a while it's like, what's Dark Souls 3 again? So yeah, I'm a bit rusty, but enjoy the clips anyway. So, today I wanted to talk a little bit about this Dark Souls 3 announcement that's coming up soon. I guess my opinions on it, even though there's probably no context for it at this point. And yeah, The Surge. I saw some gameplay footage of a game called The Surge, and yeah, I'll give my opinions on it a little later on in this video. But yeah, really interesting game. Alright, so about this announcement. So before I say anything else, the first thing I want to say is, if you don't know about it, and I don't know how you could possibly not know, and it would be a surprise if my channel was the channel that got you up to speed on this event, I would be totally surprised. So let me know in the comments if the only reason you know about this announcement is because of me, because that'll be cool. Yeah. But anyhow, so August the 24th, prepare yourself, because there's a Dark Souls 3 announcement coming directly from FromSoftware, and I'm not sure what media format they're going to use to have this announcement. This announcement, the date, anything like that. All I know is, following that announcement, there is going to be an update to Dark Souls 3, a major patch update, I think, on the 25th. So I do suspect that this announcement is going to have something to do with the upcoming patches that we're going to get. And supposedly it's going to be the 1.07 update. I'm not sure what regulation it's going to be. There was this huge amount of confusion about the difference between a regulation update and a patch update. So my channel, for example, I would have it where the updates were all the way up to 1.09. But it actually will be, and I think at this point it is 1.06. And on the following update, it's going to be 1.07. But aside from all of that, there's going to be this huge announcement about Dark Souls 3. And I don't know whether to be excited or not. It's suspected already that it's going to be about DLC content. Obviously, that's going to be something that comes up. I mean, it would be kind of silly for FromSoftware to not take advantage of the fact that everybody's going to have their ears open for new content and probably expecting to hear about it and them not deliver. So, as far as DLC content is concerned, I'm pretty sure that's going to be part of the announcement. However, Dark Souls 3 has a lot of stuff that it still needs to kind of polish up in the base game, and I'm thinking that that's probably going to be the meat of the topic. Now, if we're talking about what my opinion is on it at this point, I really think maybe the biggest reveal that they might have is the fact that Poise is going to be reintroduced to Dark Souls 3. Now, I don't know how I personally feel about that, because I kind of feel at this point that well, before the patches and stuff, but prior to the patches, hyper armor was really problematic for Dark Souls 3's PvP, and things like latency and all that kind of really made it worse. I don't know, like, it goes back and forth with each update, and depending on whether players are lagging or if they're lag switching or cheating, you know, it could be anything in Dark Souls. Like, you just never know. Too many things can be going on. It's not even worth, like, stressing your brain over. Regardless of that, like, if they do activate the Poise button, it's not going to be a surprise if a bunch of people stack a bunch of armor, pick up the most cheapest, ridiculously overpowered short sword that they can get, and just spam their way to victory. Wouldn't be surprised. I already see that as a thing that's going to happen. Why? Because it was a thing in Dark Souls 2. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that Poise shouldn't make a return. Not saying that at all. My point is, if Poise is to make a return, the entire PvP system is going to need an overhaul. And that's just a fact. Either they're going to do that, or PvP is just going to completely fail. Like, there's going to be no coming back from that, because it's just going to be way too broken at that point. That's just my opinion on it. Not saying that I don't want to see Poise return. I think it would be interesting. I would like to introduce it to some characters, because I'm not really interested in the whole greatsword thing. So, you know, picking up a nice axe and then just going to town with it and being able to, you know, kind of plow through my opponent's attacks because I have Poise, that'd be nice. Just saying. Okay, so as far as any other announcements are concerned, obviously DLC being one of them, is I really think that what they might do in this reveal is kind of talk about maybe connectivity between stories. Now, I know personally from experience that FromSoftware, when they do announcements, don't really go into lore all that much. They try to leave that alone and like kind of leave it to the community. However, I think that Dark Souls 3 might be a rare exception to the rule because of the fact that, well, okay, this is one of the things that blew my mind coming back to Dark Souls, is that I didn't realize until just recently that the final boss of the game was on the cover the entire time. The final boss was advertised to us, showed up on covers. The what was the release date poster, which basically say prepare yourself. The boss was on all of that stuff. We had absolutely no idea. And I thought that was interesting that it just hit me that the final boss to Dark Souls 3 was on the cover of, I think even the game box. I'm not sure because I have the PC version, so I don't know what the game box looks like. But yeah, the final boss was revealed to us like from the jump, and that's kind of it's kind of crazy to think about that. It just occurred to me. But anyhow, so yeah, I'm thinking what they might do is a connectivity between stories where it might be some sort of like lore. I can't even say lore, but what I would say is like world building address. Now, I can't say specifically what that's going to be because I haven't really dug into the lore of Dark Souls 3 myself to try to make any meaningful connections. That's something that I plan to do in the future. I've kind of been tied up doing other stuff that isn't related to Dark Souls. Like, I really got tied up with other stuff. Like, I guess what I'll say is like I started playing some of my other older games, and I'm kind of wrapped up into that, and I kind of took a break from Dark Souls for a while, as you can see, like, because I'm getting totally wrecked. But I'll come back. Probably a little bit before the DLCs come out, just to kind of knock the rust off. But I'll definitely be back with different videos, bigger, better, all that good stuff. But I think it's going to be a world building reveal, and I don't think it's going to be story stuff. I think what they're probably going to do is, instead of just being like a whole DLC thing, is sort of like a Mythos of Dark Souls type of, I would say, I want to say vignette, but probably more of just like a showcase. And it's not going to be too spoilery. We might get to see some things that we haven't heard just yet, but were introduced from Dark Souls 3 and then kind of make connections that aren't heavy spoiler territory. But I think it's going to be the typical thing that we already heard, where, Gwen is the Lord of Sunlight. This is the connection between Gwen and this character and stuff like that, just to kind of get you hyped for the upcoming storylines. But I don't think it's going to be any major reveal for DLC. I think they're probably gonna hold their cards on that one, but I could be wrong. They could probably use this opportunity to go really spoiler heavy and well, when I say spoiler heavy, I mean more so like reveal a lot of the ideas and concepts that they're going to be working on in the DLC. I think they're going to keep their cards close to their chest on this one because they have no reason to give anything away at this point. Like, anyone who enjoys Dark Souls 3 is definitely going to get the DLC. So I don't think that's something that FromSoftware is too concerned about. Bandai Namco, on the other hand, that might be a different topic altogether. But I don't think that's something that they're too worried about. But yes, if by some chance I am the channel and this is the video that is letting you know to be ready for August the 24th of this year for a huge Dark Souls 3 announcement, I don't know how that might be a thing, but it might actually be a thing. Who knows? So yes, prepare yourself for this huge announcement. I would be lying to say that I'm super excited. Anyone who's seen my review or my previous video where I briefly discussed the potential of the DLC in the future, like, you already know how I feel about Dark Souls 3. I feel like it's a complete game. I don't really feel like it needs more of anything at this point. I think the vanilla game just needs to be touched up a bit. But more Dark Souls is always great. So it's not something where I'm saying that, oh, they shouldn't do it. It's just that I'm not really as excited, you know. That might change when I actually get my hands on it or I start seeing some of the newer stuff. And then again, there's so much, for me, like, there's so much that I haven't done in the base game yet that to already be looking for new stuff. I'm not even bored of the base game yet. You know, like, I've kind of just taken a break from it, but there's stuff I still have yet to experiment with. So, I don't know, for me to be looking for new stuff already, I don't really know how I feel about that. But, again, once there's some reveals, we hear about some upcoming content, there's some kind of context behind the DLCs, which they're definitely going to talk about. We know they're going to do that. It would be stupid of them not to. You know, maybe my opinion on that will change. But as of now, I don't know. Like, I'm going to tune... Obviously, I'm saying I'm not super excited, but I'm obviously going to tune in on the 24th to see what it is that they have to say. So, it does hold my interest in some form or another. So, let's just put it and, you know, leave it at that. Okay. So, aside from this Dark Souls announcement that's happening on August the 24th, I want to talk about another game called The Surge. Now, okay. Now, I gotta admit, when I first heard about this game, everybody kept saying, oh, it's a futuristic Dark Souls 3. And I was just like, another Dark Souls wannabe. Now, Lords of the Fallen, like, I didn't even remotely entertain that game. The people were trying to give it high praise and all, and I was like, no. Absolutely not. I'm not touching that game. I'm not watching any advertisements for that game. It is going to be a Dark Souls 3 clone. I'm sorry, not 3. It was Dark Souls 2 at the time, I think. It's going to be a Dark Souls clone, and it's going to be a terrible game. They're going to try to take all these concepts from Dark Souls, and they're going to get it completely wrong. I feel as though, for the most part, that I was pretty much right about that. People might have a different opinion. I don't know. Till this day, I haven't gone anywhere near Lords of the Fallen, and I can pretty much say I keep a pretty close eye on the Souls community. Neither has anyone else. So, when I say that Lords of the Fallen was a spectacular failure, yep, I was pretty much right about that. So here comes The Surge. Now, I saw 3 news updates on it. First on Steam. Because, okay, so about this 24th announcement, a friend told me. That's how I know about it. Okay, getting off of that. So, I was on Steam to look up this 24th announcement, August 24th. And I see a news segment on a game called The Surge. So I ignore it. I'm just like, I don't want to hear about another Dark Souls clone. Like, forget about it. DLC's coming out. Like, I don't need another Dark Souls in my life. So I go to look up this information about the announcement, and I see the not the advertisement, but the news panel again. Now, this is from a different site. I think it's called Kotaku or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. And I'm just like, oh boy. Like, this thing is everywhere. Like, they want to advertise this new Dark Souls-like franchise. I'm not buying it. Not interested. After the third time I see this game, I'm just like, okay, let me at least look at it. Because I did do that with Lords of the Fallen. I at least looked at the game. And I lost interest almost right away. Okay, so about the Surge. So I decide, okay, let's at least look at the game. Okay, I'll give it a chance. Just, even if it's just scratching the surface, let's look at it and judge it by what it is that I see. Now, I have to admit to you, when I first saw it, I rolled my eyes hard. I was like, oh my goodness, this looks like one of those AAA franchise games that just spared no expense on graphical content, and it's going to be all pretty and like all polished, but it's going to have no substance to it. And from what I've seen, I was totally wrong about that. At first, I did not care nor look forward to anything that the Surge wanted to bring my way. But surprisingly, I watched the promotional video from beginning to end, and I gotta say I was impressed. It is a lot like Dark Souls, but in some aspects it takes those really important turns that make it its own thing. Now, I would just recommend watching the video yourself, the promotional video that's out there. There could be more than one. I saw the one that was being promoted on a site called Kotaku or something like that. But you'll recognize it because it is a video that has one of the, I believe, chief editors or creators doing commentary over it, explaining what it is that they wanted to do with the game. That's the proper video. I'm not sure how many are out there, but that's the one that I saw. Go check that out if you get a chance, if you're a fan of Dark Souls. But when I saw that, yes, it had all of the cheesy formulas of a AAA title, go here and there. But when I started seeing the ambushes and getting the feeling for the atmosphere and the terror and the death around every corner aspect that Dark Souls loves to introduce to its players, and it done right, I was so impressed. So this strangely AAA-ish game started turning into something else. And the one thing I will say, before Dark Souls 3 was a thing, Dark Souls games seem to lack that polish. And for a game to kind of get Dark Souls concepts very right, and then have the benefit of having that polish that Dark Souls games tend to not have, that really interests me. And I really had to, start taking what I was seeing a little bit more seriously. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. I wasn't really taking it serious, but I guess it kind of got my ears to prick up. Dark Souls 2 reference. So, yeah, the Surge game is looking like it might actually be something that I pick up in the future. Now, I'm not trying to sell it to anybody. There's still a lot of game to be revealed. Maybe some reviews and opinions on it might help. I'll definitely be checking out Roricon, because I know he's probably going to get his hands on it to see what his opinions on the game are. But it definitely got my attention. And I avoided even trying to bother looking at that game for about two advertisements. But I finally caved in, and I have to admit that I was kind of impressed with what I saw. Surprised. Super surprised, but definitely impressed. So yeah, when you get a chance to check it out, go look up a game called The Surge. If you look up any Dark Souls 3 content, it'll likely pop up, especially if you're looking for news on Dark Souls 3. which is why this video even exists. Oh boy. Yeah, you should definitely be able to find it. It shouldn't be that too hard to find. Okay, so back to Dark Souls 3 and this whole thing going down on the 24th. I'll definitely be tuning in. You should too. And if by some chance, this channel is the reason that you're tuning in on the 24th, I highly doubt it, but please, if somehow this video is the reason you know about that event, please let me know in the comments, because like I'm so convinced that like I'm not going to be the reason, and if I am, I'm going to be so proud of myself. Like, so proud. My channel's so small, but to make a difference in someone's life will be amazing. So, yeah, there's that. So, okay, so now that that's over, I'm just going to start my usual rant that I do during these videos and kind of explain what I've been up to and what I plan for the future of this channel. Okay, so there's a few series that I didn't complete because I have a tough time balancing real life stuff and video games. So I wanted to finish my Truth in the Fire series. I need to get more information about pyromancy in Dark Souls 3 before I continue, because as anyone who's watched my videos knows that my opinions about things vary drastically from a majority of the Dark Souls community. Like, for example, Solaire not being Gwen's son, which is something I've been saying forever. But, you know, people just swore up and down that it was him. And then we get to see in Dark Souls 3 that he's actually not. But I didn't get to make a video about it, you know, soon enough, because I'm getting my equipment, like, you know, recently. Like, I believe I just got my recording equipment maybe 2-3 months ago, maybe a little later than that, but I would have made these debate videos a long time ago if I had the means, but I didn't. But aside from that, yeah, I'm the guy who doesn't agree with a lot of the popular opinions about Dark Souls lore and stuff like that, and I've been waiting forever to finally get my voice out there. So I do want to finish the Truth in the Fire series, which is one of many other series that I want to start deconstructing the popular lore that's out there. No offense to the people who make it. You know, I'm just saying you're wrong. So, there's that. Also, I've been playing a lot of Terraria. Now, Terraria to me is my first love that's a Dark Souls-ish type game. It's very unforgiving. The bosses are really challenging. But it's more of a survival game in some aspects, whereas Dark Souls is more of like an action-adventure combat RPG. Terraria is more like a survival slash Metroidvania, you know, slash I don't know. It's quite a lot of things, like slash Minecraft. Yeah, it's a lot of different games bundled into one, and it does a lot of things so well. And I've been kind of dumping a lot of my time into that game. Anyone who's interested, you should really check it out. Like, I won't say that it's for everyone. What I will say, if you're at least curious about the Terraria series that I've been posting, don't watch the first episode. That first episode is mostly for people who love Terraria. If you're not a person who thinks that you might like that type of game, but you do kind of want to see what the big deal about it is and why it is I'm so engrossed, watch the second episode. It's called King Slime. If you're not feeling it after watching that, then I would just say, yeah, don't worry about it. But that video is a perfect example of why it is that I love that series so much. Well, it's not even a series, it's just one game, but that's why I love Terraria so much. It's that video embodies the entire reason why I love me some Terraria, and would be the only reason I take a break from Dark Souls 3. I'm probably going to be playing those games side by side because Terraria is just that good. Really love that game. So, I don't know, trying to balance between playing Dark Souls 3 and that is going to be tough for me, because I already have tough enough time balancing real life and video games. So, that's going to be a tough one. I don't even really know about that, but that's what I've been kind of doing, and why you haven't been seeing a whole bunch of Dark Souls 3 content. And plus, at this point, I don't really know what I want to do besides the Thief Arts video is probably just a deconstruction video, and then finally finishing up the Scholar of the First Scum video series. That's another thing. So what I might do is I'll take a short Dark Souls 3 break, get some Terraria in there, probably finish up Scholar of the First Scum. That shouldn't take too long. Become a Forlorn, and then finally move on to the deconstructing of popular lore. And I think that'll probably be the direction. But the Truth of the Fire series is going to be so massive because there's so much information that's going to have to be given out. Like, and getting the proper footage for that, especially since Dark Souls 3 is a thing. Like, oh my goodness, like, that's going to be so good. Oh, but anyhow, this has been Inconsequential Souls. Thanks for tuning in. And please do check out that video. I don't even know if it's going to be a video or just a straight up announcement. It's going to be a recording. I'm pretty sure about that. But make sure to tune in on the 24th for some upcoming Dark Souls news. And let me know if I'm the reason that you know about it. I'll see you next time. And thanks for watching. Later.